For election to be successful and democratic, voters must understand their rights and responsibilities, sufficiently knowledgeable and well informed to cast ballots that are legally valid, as well as participate meaningfully in the voting process. Join us as we sample opinions on the readiness of Nigerians towards the 2023 elections.
Voter education on the use of bimodal voter accreditation system (BVAS) and overall voting processes are very crucial to countries where political situations may be volatile and elections may have an unprecedented impact on their future. The BVAS is an electronic device introduced by the Independent National Electoral Commission in 2021. This biometric technology was designed to verify permanent voter cards (PVCs) and authenticity through a biometric verification mechanism using both fingerprints and facial recognition of voters. The device can also capture images of the polling unit result sheets and upload the image on INEC election results viewing platform or portal known as IREV. The portal allows members of the public to create personal accounts to gain access to polling unit results uploaded on the platform as PDF files. The beavers work by scanning the barcode or QR code on the PVC and voter register, or by simply entering the last 6 digits of the voter identity number or typing in the last name of the voter by the assistant presiding officer to verify and authenticate voters.
Beavers can't authenticate you if your data is not in the Beavers. You know what I mean? Because you use your fingerprint and your face. So the Beavers already has your data. And that's how the Beavers can prove whether you're actually the one or not. So if an imposter takes your PVC,
Hello once again, and many thanks for joining us on today's edition of Political Spectrum. We're coming to you live on Spectrum Television. Hello from me, I am Raymond Atet. The one program, of course, that brings you up to speed with the latest political developments and news stories from across the country. Speaking about news, there's none bigger making the rounds now than the news that the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has postponed the governorship and State House of Assembly elections, which were initially scheduled for March 11. It's a news that has, of course, taken everyone by surprise following the announcements that came yesterday. And this news, of course, would begin our latest political roundup of the day's biggest news stories and events. Now, in the news that was scheduled for Wednesday, or rather in a statement that was issued yesterday on Wednesday, the chairman of INEC's Voter Education Committee, in the person of Festus Okoye, said the elections will now hold on Saturday, March 18. Now, according to him, the reason for the one-week extension is due to the inability of INEC to promptly commence a reconfiguration of the bimodal voter accreditation system BVAS machine, which were, of course, utilized during the February 25 presidential election, and they have said this will enable their use in the state elections. Now, recall that INEC was earlier restrained from tampering with the information that was embedded in the BVAS machine until a due inspection was conducted and certified true copies were issued to the candidates who were challenging the outcome of the presidential election. Of course, as we know it, the Election Petitions Tribunal in Abuja had granted Peter Obi of the Labour Party as well as Atiku of the People's Democratic Party access to inspect the BVAS that were deployed in the February 25 polls. In the meantime, the Presidential Election Petition Court, sitting at the Court of Appeal in Abuja, has also granted the request of the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) to reconfigure the bimodal voter accreditation system (BVAS) that it used for the presidential election. Now, the court, in a unanimous decision by a three-member panel of justices, held that preventing the electoral umpire from reconfiguring the BVAS will adversely affect the forthcoming governorship and state assembly elections. Now, it dismissed objections by the Labour Party and its presidential candidate, Peter Obi, against the request. Now, according to the court, allowing the objections by Obi and his party would amount to tying the hands of the respondent, in this case being INEC. Now, in dismissing objections by the Labour Party and Peter Obi, the court held that the backup files on the server cannot be lost and that restraining INEC will affect the forthcoming governorship elections. Justice Joseph Ike, who presided over the panel, chided the applicants for repeating the request to be allowed to scan and make copies of the electoral materials in INEC's possession, stating that it amounted to an abuse of court process. It noted that INEC had, in an affidavit filed before the court, assured that the accreditation data contained in the BVAS could not be tampered with or lost. But there's a lot of issues we'll look at as we progress. But let's go to the Middle Belt, where the MBF, that's the Middle Belt Forum, has demanded the resignation of the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, alleging that he subverted the wishes of Nigerians over the Commission's failure to electronically transmit the result of the February 25 presidential and National Assembly elections. Now, the forum said the basis for the support of the people of the Middle Belt for the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, in the last general election was aligned with its sense of justice, equity, and fair play. President of the MBF, Dr. Pogu Bitrus, made the call in a statement in Abuja yesterday. Bitrus said the INEC helmsman should either resign or be sacked by President Muhammadu Buhari. Moving away, the Yoruba social political group, known as the Afenifere, has declared that the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, was the rightful winner of the February 25 election. In a statement released yesterday, the group's secretary, Shola Ebiseni, said the Afenifere had accused the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, of manipulating the results in favor of the All Progressives Congress, APC. According to the report, the Afenifere said that the Labour Party candidate had won the election and supports his decision to challenge INEC's contrary declaration. The Afenifere reiterated that for fairness, equity, and peaceful corporate existence, the next president of Nigeria must come from the southern part of the country, particularly the southeast. Now, the group also called on residents of Lagos to vote for the Gbadebo Roads Viva campaign of the Labour Party during the forthcoming governorship polls, and they urged INEC to ensure free and credible gubernatorial and House of Assembly elections in accordance with the Constitution and the Electoral Act. Let's move on now. The Presidential Election Petition Court, PEPC, sitting at the Court of Appeal in Abuja, yesterday granted the request by President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu to inspect election materials used by the Independent National Electoral Commission during the February 25 presidential polls. Tinubu and his party, the APC, had on Tuesday approached the PEPC to seek an order to inspect materials used by INEC for the presidential poll. His lawyer, Akintola Makinde's son, had said the order would enable him and his party members obtain evidence in preparation for their defense against Peter Obi and Atiku Abubakar, are challenging his victory. Now, the application followed a suit filed by the presidential candidate of the PDP and the Labour Party, challenging the declaration of Tinubu by INEC as the winner of the presidential election. Now, ruling on the motion yesterday, a three-man panel of the court, led by Justice I. Joseph, granted Tinubu's request to inspect the election materials. Well, staying with election matters, INEC has issued certificates of return to winners of the February 25, 2023 House of Representatives election in Nigeria. The INEC chairman, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, presented the certificates to the members-elect at the National Coalition Center in Abuja. Yakubu on Saturday said the winners were declared for 423 legislative seats, including the supplementary elections, which would be conducted in 46 other constituencies. According to the breakdown, 325 out of 366 have been won by 8 political parties in the House of Representatives. Now, in terms of party representation, the African Democratic Party won 2 seats, the APC with 162, ABGA with 4, Labour Party with 34, the NNPP with 18, the PDP 102, the SDP 2, while the Young Progressives Party claimed 1 seat. Finally, on our update, Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike has accused the People's Democratic Party's PDP national leadership of anti-party practice and self-destruct by virtue of its dumping of the zoning arrangements entrenched in the party's constitution. Now, he maintained that the decision to abandon zoning is a clear violation of the PDP's constitution and was largely to blame for the party's defeat in a just concluded presidential polls. Wike made the remarks when the 3 Rivers senators-elect, Dr. Ibilabo Harry Benigo, Barry Mpigi, as well as Alwell Onyeso, visited him at his private residence in Rumu Precom yesterday to present their certificate of return to him. Now, the governor reiterated that Section 7, subsection 3C of the party's constitution actually promotes principles of equity, justice, and fairness as it relates to rotation of elective and appointive offices. Now, according to him, the decision to jettison the principle is the worst form of anti-party activities. We're clearly not seeing the last of this as far as Governor Wike's standoff with the leadership of the People's Democratic Party is concerned, with many claiming that his decision not to endorse the candidacy of Atiku Abubakar could have contributed to the PDP's woes at the presidential election. But the main focus of our discussion on burning stories later on is the aftermath of the February 25 polls. The post-election reactions are seen to a Court of Appeal granting access to the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to reconfigure the BVAS. Now, this decision is coming barely after the same court allowed the Labour Party and the PDP to also have access to the BVAS, thus to ascertain that they were not compromised in the course of the February 25 presidential and National Assembly polls. Or this decision has necessitated INEC's decision to postpone the state governorship and state houses of assembly election initially slated for March 11 to March 18. When we come back from this break, we're heading straight to the commercial hub of Lagos, where Victor Ani-laju, founder of IPE and former presidential aspirant of the PDP, will join us to bear his thoughts on this issue. All of that and more coming up when we come back from this break. Political Spectrum will return. Just stay with us.
One truth not often told is about the transformation that Africa has undergone in recent decades. Africa is shaping its own destiny and should be referred to as the African opportunity. On Spotlight Africa, we paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail, and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai Anyekan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Spotlight Africa, telling the African story.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by gross level. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigeria Police Force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My Lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Ibro.
He did not.
My Lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my Lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my Lord. These cases are in court, my Lord. I'm just reminding your Lordship.
My Lord, sorry, my Lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Welcome back, and many thanks for staying with us. You're watching Political Spectrum. Don't forget, you can always connect with us on StarTimes DTH channel 421. And for live feeds, you can always subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on all of our social media platforms, all of which you can find on our website. Just search spectrumtv.ng. A quick reminder of the day's biggest story: the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has postponed the state governorship and state houses of assembly elections initially slated for March 11 this Saturday to March 18, 2023. INEC has said it postponed the governorship election, several litigations against it, and this was courtesy of a statement issued last night by the chairman of the Information and Voter Education Committee of INEC, Festus Okoye, which also said, following Wednesday's ruling by the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal on the reconfiguration of the BVAS machines that were used for the February 25 polls, it decided to comply by that ruling so it could be ready by another week to conduct the governorship polls on March 18. Well, joining us to get some fresh perspectives on these issues and more, Victor Ani-laju, founder of IPE and former presidential aspirant of the People's Democratic Party, no stranger to Political Spectrum. He joins us live from the commercial hub of Lagos State. Good morning to you, Victor, and welcome to Political Spectrum. All right, thanks for joining us. I believe you heard me clearly there. Let's start with the one big story making the rounds across the country. A lot of Nigerians were anticipating, in spite of the disappointment that was registered on February 25 with the outcome of the Presidential and National Assembly polls, there were expectations that perhaps maybe things could change come March 11, when Nigerians were expected to head out to cast their vote for their respective choice of governors and representatives at the State House of Assembly. INEC announcing it would postpone the polls in spite of the reasons that they have given has been greeted with disdain and discontentment in some quarters, because it has more or less showed that INEC were perhaps not 100% ready to hold the general elections beginning even from February 25. Let's start by asking, what's your take generally on INEC's decision to postpone the governorship elections by another week? All right, we'll just quickly get back to Victor in a short while. We have to apologize, of course, for the quality of the line, but we have Victor back. Please go ahead. All right, we seem to be having issues getting you clearly, Victor. We hope to reconnect with you in a short while. While we're at that, let's go through the press release that was issued by INEC yesterday. Courtesy of a statement signed by the National Commissioner and Chairman of its Information and Voter Education Committee, Festus Okoye. As already stated, here is a full breakdown of the release by INEC, rescheduling of the governorship and state houses of assembly election. Well, it says, following today's ruling by the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, the EPT, on the reconfiguration of the bimodal voter accreditation system BVAS used for the presidential election held on February 25, the Commission met to assess its impact on its preparations for the governorship and state house of assembly elections scheduled for Saturday, 11th of March 2023. We'll bring that up on your screen in a short while, just so you can follow up as well on the press release issued by INEC yesterday. It said Nigerians will recall that on the 3rd of March 2023, the presidential EPT had given an ex parte order for some political parties to inspect materials used for the presidential election. We'll come back to that shortly, but we do have Victor Ani-laju back on the line, joining us from Lagos, and we'll be bringing him up in a short while. Welcome back, Victor, if you can hear me. Good morning to you once again. All right. Hello, Victor. All right. We can get you loud and clear. Why do you think Festus Okoye at the helm of affairs would do anything different from a Mahmoud Yakubu-led INEC? Well, I was about asking, of course, whether or not the fact that Festus Okoye appears to be interfacing with Nigerians regularly, isn't that down to the fact that Festus Okoye is the head of the Voter Education and Information Committee? That's why he's able to talk to Nigerians every now and then.
Nigerians to know that the federal government is not in collusion or is not in partnership with INEC to rig the election in favor of APC. I do not think that Nigerians would love to still come out in mass in the next election. As far as the current INEC chairman, Mr. Yakub, is still there, I do not think any sensible nation that have good leadership by now should have asked the current INEC chairman to resign or to give room for another top executive to handle the next election. While we have seen that the election have been postponed with 1 week, we are using this 1 week between now and the March 18, where the governorship and House of Assembly election we hold. We are asking that the federal government dismiss, fire the current INEC chairman, so that will kind of inspire more Nigerians to come out in mass to vote, and that will put federal government in a good side for the people. Because as I speak with you right now in Lagos, there are many young Nigerians that feels that their vote was rigged, right? And we cannot build on a faulty foundation. The INEC chairman has actually altered the election process, the election guidelines. We don't trust him to be able to conduct any election in this country again. We don't trust the INEC chairman. So I'm calling on the federal government to fire the current INEC chairman and replace him with somebody else that can help us organize. And let me tell you what will happen in INEC. If you fire the INEC chairman today, that will serve as an example to all INECs.
All right, seem to have lost pictures with Victor Ani-laju, who's joining us from Lagos. But we do have Victor back. So, I just want to push to you very quickly. Even though we have Mr. Yakubu at the helm of affairs of INEC, or perhaps any other chairman that may be brought in the event that he is sacked, the bigger problems here lie with the small matter of the reconfiguration of the BVAS, which of course has led to the postponement of this election. And we cannot shy away from the fact that this has been necessitated by the decision to challenge the outcome of the presidential election in court by the Labour Party candidates Peter Obi and that of the PDP Atiku Abubakar. Now, they've both been granted access by the court to check out the BVAS and its true state as was used in the presidential election. Then INEC is saying for that to happen, the BVAS have to be reconfigured and then set in place for the use of the state governorship and state houses of assembly election. The big concerns here is whether or not the BVAS may not likely be tampered with in the course of the reconfiguration that INEC has been given permission to do by the PEPC. I wonder if this is not something that's playing on your mind as far as verifying and authenticating the actual figures that the BVAS actually stored in its server, which the court has said, and I quote, that INEC has assured them that the BVAS cannot be tampered with even after reconfiguration. It sounds like sweet words to many, but after the dissatisfaction most persons had of INEC and the allegations that INEC may have been compromised, how can we tell that the BVAS itself would not have been compromised already in the face of the entire reconfiguration process that we're about to see in the next 1 week? All right, so we're still trying to get back to Victor. We have to apologize for the poor quality of the connection this morning, but we're just getting his thoughts to the day's big story that INEC has called for a postponement of the March 11 governorship and state house of assembly elections to March 18, citing a court of appeal ruling that granted access to the beavers that were deployed for the February 25 polls by the Labour Party and the PDP presidential candidate, while INEC themselves have also been given permission to reconfigure the beavers and keep it in shape ahead of the governorship elections, which have been postponed by a week now. Okay, it looks like we do have Victor back. A short while before you went off, I was just asking, even if we have a new INEC chairman in place, whether it's Festus Okoye or any other person, what are your concerns around the fact that the beavers would be reconfigured and whether or not there is a chance that it may have been tampered with? Are you concerned by all of this, even though we know the elections have been postponed by a week and INEC have said 1 week is enough? 1 week is enough to reconfigure the beavers again after they've been checked out by these parties. Do you have concerns that the beavers may have been tampered with?
See, the truth about it is that my concern is still having Mr. Yakubu as the INEC chairman. I'm not scared about the beavers. I'm not scared about the technology. You know, technology is something that I know so well. You can use that beavers for another, let's say, close to about 100 elections. It as far as you have a server, or every transactions that goes through that the beavers can be tracked via the beavers or through their server. The server can tell you when a picture was taken and what time it was sent. So I don't have a problem.
You don't feel there are chances you don't feel there are chances that the server itself could be tampered. Now, I recall in the 2019 elections, after the 2019 elections, Atiku Abubakar came out to tell everyone in the country that the servers were manipulated. A lot of us did not believe him. So why do we want to believe him now?
Now, the truth about it is that if you tamper with its server, there is still, the server can still tell you what time the server was tampered. You see, the digital platform has been built that it has history, just like your phone. Everything you do with your phone has history. If you now go and delete the history, it becomes a problem. So the question is that why did you delete the history? Right? So what I'm just saying is that whatever they are doing with the beavers have a back end where everything that is going on that beavers is being stored. I'm not scared about the beavers. The beavers is a perfect process for us to get who our next governors, who becomes our next House of our Assembly representative. I'm not scared about that. I'm a tech expert, so I can tell you. My fear is not about the beavers. My fear is still having Mr. Yakubu as the INEC chairman. If we can take him out of that place, any decision INEC takes going forward, Nigerians will see it as credible. But let me tell you the truth, even if INEC says they are not going to touch the beavers, for example, Nigerians don't believe in INEC anymore. Nigerians have lost hope in INEC because of the attitude of the INEC chairman. He should be fired so that will bring back the trust and the belief Nigerians have for INEC. I'm not saying this because I hate him, but he has not proven to be credible. He has not proven that he's transparent. And no matter any decision INEC is going to take, as far as Mr. Yakubu is the INEC chairman, Nigerians will not trust that decision. That's what I'm saying. If the federal government today brings in a new INEC chairman or an acting chairman to handle the affair of INEC today, I tell you, you will see that trust that belief that Nigerians had for INEC at the beginning before the presidential election. So for me right now, as I speak with you right now, I don't trust INEC. Beavers or no beavers, configuration or no configuration, as far as that we still have him, Mr. Yakub, as the INEC chairman, then we don't trust whatever decision is coming out from him. In fact, every decision he takes now will feel that he is his plan to use to rig the governorship election and the House of Assembly election in favor of APC. Like I said, Mr. Yakubu, the current INEC chairman, have been corrupt or have been compromised by APC. He has been influenced by APC. So I am.
All right. Well, we wish you had more time to buttress the claims that
I am calling
INEC has been compromised by the APC. But I did ask you again, and I'm going to reiterate that question. You're insisting that Mr. Yakubu has been largely compromised by the APC. But I'm still asking, Mr. Yakubu only supervises the entirety of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, which has other committees and organs saddled with different responsibility in the course of executing the entire electioneering process. So if Mr. Yakubu gives way, does it necessarily translate to reorientating the entire staff of INEC and preventing a reoccurrence of what we saw on February 25? Because I wouldn't like to believe that Mr. Yakubu was largely responsible, for instance, for the late arrival of election materials in some polling units or refusals to transmit the results onto the IREF from each polling unit at the point of conclusion, or the alleged connivance of INEC staff with some political parties across different states of the country, not just the APC. The PDP and several other parties who had their parties dominating some states allegedly connived with INEC staff to truncate the election. So even if Mr. Yakubu gives way, we could still have a problem with his successor also being compromised, because as you said it looks like it's INEC that has been compromised and not necessarily Professor Mahmoud Yakubu alone.
What I'm saying is the federal government should sack the current INEC chairman, Mr. Yakubu. That will serve as a warning to all INEC executive and all INEC staff.
And in the event that that fails to happen, what next?
Nigerians can't trust the INEC's body. We don't trust INEC anymore. We don't trust INEC to organize a free and fair election. It's as simple as that. When you work for every organization, one of the key roles you play as a leader is to build trust among the staff and among the people. The INEC chairman, Nigerians have lost trust in INEC chairman, not just.
All right, Victor Ani-laju, founder EP, former presidential aspirant of the PDP, joining us on Political Spectrum, talking about his take on INEC's decision to postpone the governorship and State House of Assembly elections. We might have Victor back on the line again. If we do, please go ahead.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is that when you sack the INEC chairman today, if you are bringing anybody there, that person will not want to do anything that will make them to sack him or her, because the person would have learned from the issue of his predecessor. But if we leave INEC chairman there, we are endorsing corruption. We are endorsing an election that is not going to be free and fair. I am calling on the federal government, as they have agreed to shift the election in 2 weeks' time. They should agree also, because if they agree to shift it in 2 weeks' time, that means INEC is not prepared. They should, on that same reason that INEC is not prepared for the governorship election, sack the INEC chairman and bring up an acting chairman so that Nigerians can believe in the transparency of INEC, so that we all can come out to vote in our next governors, our next House of Assembly members. And also, Mr. Yakub should not be in the seat of INEC while investigation is going on with what happened during the presidential election. Those are two reasons why I'm calling for his sack. He should not be on that office.
Okay, Victor, they're stressing that the INEC chairman, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, should not only rescue himself from his role as the helmsman of the electoral umpire, but equally not be in charge of INEC in the course of the inspection of the BVAS and the electoral process as it concerns the February 25 polls. I'd like to draw your sight now, Victor, to another pressing concern. As we know it, the major opposition parties in the country, the PDP and the Labour Party, have both been granted access to inspect the BVAS. You have said you do not believe or trust in INEC anymore, but I wonder, do you trust in the judicial system of the country to deliver as far as the rulings and the processes surrounding the February 25 presidential election is concerned? By projections, a lot of persons are finding it difficult to tell where this case would likely go. It's at the Court of Appeal stage now. One of the contradictory things we saw from the ruling yesterday was that even though the Court of Appeal allowed the likes of Peter Obi and Atiku to have access to the BVAS, they also did not grant their prayers to prevent INEC from reconfiguring the BVAS. Now, this was one of the critical things we perhaps have to look at here. INEC has said the Labour Party and the PDP can have access to the BVAS, but at the same time, they've allowed INEC to go ahead and reconfigure them, claiming that the data on the server cannot be tampered with or lost. Now, the concern for the Labour Party and the PDP here is INEC should not have access to the BVAS until the inspection is thoroughly completed. So don't you find it funny that while they've been allowed to access the BVAS, at the same time INEC is told to reconfigure the same machines? Do you find that funny, or you feel it's just within the right call?
Okay, so let me come in there. Do you know that it was INEC that wrote to the courts to grant them the approval to reconfigure their the BVAS, the materials, the electoral materials? That is why I am calling for the sack of Mr. Yakubu. If INEC was transparent, if INEC was trustworthy, if INEC is not hiding anything, they shouldn't have gone to the courts to ask for the grants to reconfigure the BVAS and the election materials. And that's why I said what I'm saying. That as far as Mr. Yakubu is there, he will, because he knows how he was able to manipulate the results. He will also be using, he is also going to cover up all those problems.
All right, strong claims there made by Victor Ani-laju. Again, we have to apologize for the connection there, but we do have him back. Welcome back, and please go ahead.
Yeah, he will also, as far as Mr. Yakubu remains the INEC chairman, he will also cover up every evidence that would have been used against him in court. I am not just saying that the judiciary system in Nigeria, like I heard, they work by technicalities, not really by evidence. But I do not trust the judiciary system, but I trust Nigerians to stand up for their rights. And part of the right we are asking for is that the INEC chairman should be sacked immediately so that he will not compromise He will not remove evidences that will be used during the judiciary process of coming up or of who actually won the 2023 presidential election. Having said that, these days, I want to advise that the judiciary system invites experts, because what we are dealing with here are technology, and I could tell you most of the judges don't really understand how technology works, how the beavers works. A lot of Nigerians don't really understand how it works. So, and we want that hearing to be open to the public. We want to see cameras. We want to see experts coming to explain to us in the court what the beavers is all about, so that Nigerians can be carried along in the judiciary process, or in the process of personal judgment. It should not be done in secret, because most of the judges don't understand technology, and that's where I'm having a little doubt in the side of the judiciary, because they don't understand what beavers is all about. They don't understand how beavers work. They don't understand what is called back end. They don't understand what is called database. They really don't understand what it means to reconfigure the beavers. We're just hearing the language reconfiguration. They are not telling us what exactly they want to do. But for me, I know that they have no business in reconfiguring the beavers, right? They are just looking for a loophole for them to be able to delete evidences on the beavers that will be needed in court. But why is this happening? It's because you still have Mr. Yakubu as the INEC chairman. If you take him away, you will be able to secure evidences. And I believe that the Labour Party and also the PDP party, His Excellency Peter Obi and Atiku, should be asking for the sack of INEC chairman, so that judiciary process, the judgment.
All right, interesting calls indeed. We'll still attempt to drive this conversation up until the top of the hour. But Victor, I'd just like to ask as well, the Labour Party candidate, Peter Obi, shortly after his World Press Conference, did say and call on his supporters not to take to the streets, reassuring them that he will reclaim his mandates, because he believes he won the presidential polls. He will reclaim that mandate in court. And I did ask you a short while ago whether or not you trusted the judicial process in the country. If Mr. Peter Obi is very assured that he will actually reclaim his mandate in court, don't you feel it's something his supporters should equally take to heart and continue trusting the process, even to a point of coming out in droves come March 18, when we're going to have the rescheduled governorship election, rather than sit at home simply because they were dissatisfied with the process they saw and witnessed on February 25?
No, the truth about it is that I trust Nigerians to come out and vote, but Nigerians don't trust that INEC to count their votes. You need to understand that election is a game of trust. First of all, the people are coming out to vote for a candidate that they trust. That's where it starts. Then secondly, the people trust INEC to count their votes and not to read their vote. So the question we should be asking is that, what is the federal government doing to make the people trust in INEC? And that's why I said that the INEC chairman, the current INEC chairman, Mr. Yakubu, should be sacked. Once you sack him now, that will rebuild the trust of Nigerians on INEC. That will make Nigerians believe that INEC is no more compromised, that their vote will count. But if you continue with Mr. Yakubu as the INEC chairman, Nigerians will feel that what Mr. Yakubu did during the presidential election for rigging the election, he's still going to rig the election, the governorship and the House of Assembly election. So what we should be asking about is not about the people. We should be asking what is the federal government doing as of today. What are the measures being put in place to rebuild that trust in the people? Just like I said, when you serve the INEC chairman, you succeed in building the trust of the people. Whether he was part of the process, rigging process or not, he should be suspended. That will serve as a lesson to every INEC official. That will bring back the trust of the people towards INEC. And
all right, still talking to Mr. Victor Ani-laju, founder EPE, who's joining us from Lagos, and we do have him back. Quickly make up ground on that point before I push across the next question.
The governorship election and the House of Assembly election is so important to Nigerians, especially for us here in Lagos, because we have one of the best candidates so far in the history of governorship election. We have one of the best candidates that have integrity, that have simplicity, that is capable, that have the capacity, that he is also competent to build what we call the new Lagos. In the person of Bodibon in Labour Party. And Lagosians, those of us in Lagos, who are coming as a mass to vote for him. Right?
Well,
but we don't trust
I was about coming to that, since as we know the elections have been postponed. But of course, campaigning does continue. I just wanted to ask you, do you feel that the numbers that the Labour Party put out in the presidential elections can be replicated during the governorship polls? As much as you've said, Rhodes presents a formidable force for the Labour Party going into that election, but it's going to square off against the incumbent governor Sanwo-Olu of the APC, whom most have said has actually recorded, remarkable success in his first tenure as a Lagos State governor. Perhaps the decision or what informed Lagosians' choice to vote for the Labour Party in the presidential polls was because perhaps putting side by side the candidacy of Bola Tinubu of the APC and Peter Obi of the Labour Party, it was easy to go for a third force. But can the Labour Party replicate that number in the governorship election?
101%. In fact, you are going to hear history that you have not heard before. The Labour Party is ready, and the Nigerians, Lagosians are ready to vote in Labour into power in the seat of the governorship and also House of Assembly. Let me tell you something that most people fail to understand, that we here in Lagos will understand so well. Like I was saying from the beginning, is as at today, if you ask the people who is going to be your next governor, they will tell you that it's a young man in Labour Party. But what the people will tell you that they don't trust INEC. So count their votes. Right? So that's where we're having a lot of challenges. And that's where we feel that federal government should come up and act. And state election is very.
All right, again, we lost contact with Victor Ani-laju, but we'll soon round up on that conversation. Don't forget, we're chipping your reactions as well later on. You can join the conversation by reaching out to us on the numbers displayed on your screen. But we do have Victor back. Please go ahead.
You know that state election is very important to the people. Everybody wants to make sure that they have a new governor that cares about the people. The incumbent or the current governor have not done anything for Lagos State. In fact, this is the worst governor we have ever seen in Lagos State.
On what premise are you adjudicating that he has the worst performance rate in Lagos State as governor?
Insecurity, development, infrastructure, they are zero. Lagos is more dirty now than ever before. There is so much insecurity in Lagos. There is so much disorderliness. There is now high rate of thuggery, raping, and killing in Lagos.
But contrary to the claims you've just made, a lot of us have been made to believe that the administration of Governor Sanwo-Olu has actually improved the lot and welfare of Lagosians in some areas that perhaps you may not even have mentioned. I mean, he was widely credited to have been the best performing governor in the country in the year leading up after the COVID-19 pandemic. Perhaps the fact that he seems to have been pitted against the public is only down to the role he took during the End SARS protests, when he claimed that no lives were lost in the course of the protest or the shootings at the Lekki toll gate. But aside these claims, there seems to be a general belief or perception on ground that Governor Sanwo-Olu's administration has actually performed. So I perhaps seem to find it funny, and forgive me, that you have said he hasn't performed creditably at all.
I guess you are a TV station, so maybe you should just get one or two of your crew to come into Lagos and see for yourself. Lagos have more bad roads now. The rate of killings and insecurity in Lagos is very high. You can't stay in Lagos traffic anymore. There are people now who just off their vehicle and just walk away, because while you're on traffic, armed robbers will come and rob you. There are people who right now, as you speak right now in Lagos, they are scared of moving. We have never had a non-indigenous of Lagos under threat in Lagos like this. Lives of people in Lagos are under threat. People, businesses are under threat. What else are you going to say? You have said whatever you want to say, but I thought you were going to mention some projects that you can say this is what he has done. I can tell you categorically clear, the current governor of Lagos have not done anything.
All right, again, seems to have lost bites and sights from Lagos, where Victor Ani-laju is still on standby. All right, just go ahead.
It surprised you to know that the previous administration that was led by Ambody was 100%. When I mean, see, the infrastructures that young man builds right now has been destroyed. And this current governor is not even doing anything to maintain or to keep that level of development. There is high traffic now in Lagos. In fact, right now, a lot of people have left Lagos. People, if he is sincere to himself, he should go and check the record. A lot of people who stay in Lagos have left Lagos. Some have gone to America, Canada, UK. Some have gone to even South Africa. Some have left to Ghana. Some have even left to Niger Republic. You know, people are leaving Lagos to other nations or to other states to go and stay. Right? That's if Lagos was doing well, I don't think people will be leaving Lagos. Businesses are leaving out of Lagos. Go and check the record. Lagos is losing businesses to Ogun. People are going to Ogun to go and set up their factories. People are going to neighboring states because there are more road network there and those places are more secure. And even here, people are paying tax for nothing. What they are so interested in is collecting of tax. And at the end, they don't use the taxpayer money to do anything good. Lagos is not a good place to talk about right now. If Lagos was doing well, they wouldn't have lost Lagos to Labour Party. Right? They wouldn't have lost Lagos to Labour Party. And I always will say it that Lagos has always been the heart of APC. Because from federal to state to local governments, they have not done well. That is why they are losing everything they are going to lose. We have never had the level of rigging in Lagos like what we had of recent. Everything about Lagos now is now moving towards the negative direction. There were killings in this same Lagos, and the governor came up and denied that there were no killings. Right? They remove cameras, they turn off the street light, and you expect a governor that cannot protect the life of her citizens, of the citizens. And you expect that governor to do what now? What is he coming to do for us? To even keep the state in a peaceful situation so that people can come out and vote peacefully. The governor does, the current governor right now, someone doesn't even have control over the thugs, the Agberos in Lagos. The Agberos right now, they have unleashed threats, and the governor have not arrested one person. The governor have not done anything. During the previous election, the presidential election.
All right, we're still trying to ensure we wrap up the conversation by hopefully getting back to Lagos, where Victor is on standby. I've gotten a bulk of the comments you made about the Sanwo-Olu's administration, whether or not the Labour Party can pose a challenge to the APC in Lagos. Lagos is just one of the hot spots that we're expecting, some showdown in the governorship election. But there are equally other states across the country where the Labour Party are seriously on the ballot, vying for the respective governorship seats. The Labour Party had a fair outing at the National Assembly polls with 34 members elected into the House of Representatives and around 4 senators as well. That seems to be a very good showing, but as I asked in the case of Lagos, across board, do you feel the party has the capacity to replicate some level of success in the governorship polls that we're expecting on March 18?
Now, Labour is now the #1 party in Nigeria. #1 party in Nigeria. Nigerians are ready to vote for Labour Party. And those numbers that you saw in the House of Assembly and in the Senate, they are more than that. There are some areas where Labour candidate won, but it was being rigged by the INEC chairman and his counterparts and his partners in APC, right? That is why we need him to be sacked, so that Nigerians can go to the polling units and vote in the people of their choice. We can't afford to miss this opportunity. This 2023 is a golden opportunity that we either make or break Nigeria. And we are standing that let Nigeria be make, let Nigeria not break. But the INEC chairman, Mr. Yakubu, and the APC, they are working hand to hand to break Nigeria. But Nigerians are good people. Nigerians are special people. They know what they want. Let us have a free and fair election. We are not forcing anybody to vote for anybody. What we are saying is that let the election be free and fair. And once the election is free and fair, and let the vote of the people count, let the beavers be used to verify and also transmit results of the polling units in real time. If we are able to do this, you will see how victorious Nigerians will be and how victorious the Labour Party will be also, right? So let's not allow anybody say a narrative to us that is not real. And like I said, Lagos is the heart of Nigeria. Whatever you see happening in Lagos goes cross aboard Nigeria, even to east, west, north, and south, right? So that.
All right. I think that's just about it from the reactions we can get from Lagos. And we have to say at this point, Victor, many thanks indeed for joining us. We wish we could continue, but we're actually wrapping up in a bit. Thank you so much for bearing your thoughts on Political Spectrum this morning.
Thank you for having me. I want to encourage every Nigerian out there to not give up. Help is coming and help has come. Thank you. God bless you all.
Thank you very much as well for joining us. Victor Ani-laju, founder EPE, former presidential aspirant of the People's Democratic Party ahead of the 2023 polls, and bearing his thoughts largely on what he makes of INEC's decision to postpone the March 11 governorship and State House of Assembly elections to March 18. This was contained in a statement issued by the National Commissioner, Voter and Information and Education Committee of INEC in the person of Mr. Festus Okoye just yesterday, and is set following Wednesday's ruling by the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal on the reconfiguration of the BVAS that were used for the presidential election of February 25. The commission actually met to assess its impact on its preparations for the governorship and State House of Assembly elections and decided to defer the election by 1 week. Nigerians were, of course, preparing for another showdown this weekend. It's, of course, glaring to say that some persons have greeted this news with disappointment because they would have thought that the entire electoral process would be concluded as soon as possible. But the concerns rising from here is the preparedness level of INEC, and intriguingly, this is something we've talked about a lot of times on the program. How ready was INEC before this election? And the several press conferences that the electoral body has had in the build-up to the polls, most of the questions that have been thrown at them has been largely targeted around their readiness and whether or not the polls would not be postponed as we saw in 2015. Right up until the final conference on the eve of the presidential election, Professor Mahmood Yakubu assured the nation that, of course, the elections would go on as planned. There were no plans to cancel or postpone any of those polls. But disappointingly, a few hours before the close of election eve, they announced postponement of elections in 5 senatorial districts, much of which we're expecting to have coming up on March 18, as we now know it, instead of March 11, since the polls have been moved. And that was the first sign of crack in INEC's readiness to host those polls. And then the incidents of irregularities and alleged manipulation that were cited in the February 25 polls also raised the doubt that INEC did not seem ready for this polls. Well, the issue of reconfiguration of the BVAS is just another matter altogether as to why a lot of BVAS were not manufactured to take care of the presidential and the governorship polls differently. Because let's say we had another set or batch of BVAS that should have been kept for the governorship election, we wouldn't have had to postpone this polls by a further week. So INEC knew very well that there would be post-litigation concerns immediately after the presidential election. We expected that the losing candidates or parties, according to the results, of course, brought to the fore by INEC, would definitely challenge the outcome of this result in court. So INEC would have known that the losing candidates would request for an access to inspect the BVAS that were used. And in that case, they should have known that a reconfiguration would give a 1 week span to allow all parties involved to thoroughly access the machines. So if INEC knew about all of this, why did they fix the March governorship election for March 11, just 2 weeks after the presidential polls, knowing they were going to have lots of litigations to attend to? It more or less sums up the fact that INEC perhaps were not as ready as they had made Nigerians to believe, and as re-echoed by Victor in his comments made there, it could largely deter a good number of persons from wanting to take part in the process again come March 18 as we know it. Well, as promised, we'll take your reactions on this. What do you make of INEC's decision to postpone the governorship election? Is it a good step in the right direction? And will it truly afford the losing candidates and parties at the February 25 polls an opportunity to thoroughly access the machines and pursue their litigations in court in the hope that they can reclaim a mandate they believe was stolen right under their watch? Well, these are the concerns we get from you. Join the conversation. When we come back from this break, we'll take your reactions before we close up shop. This is Political Spectrum on Spectrum TV. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Akwa Ibom arise and shine. Akwa Ibom arise and shine. Vote tomorrow, Akone Yageni, make we vote tomorrow, Akone Yageni, for peace and security, Sebina, job creation, I say for youth empowerment, everybody vote tomorrow, for agriculture, Sabina, women development, Sebina, interest free loan you want to. My people, go to
Akwa Ibom people, vote for job creation, vote for peace and unity, vote Pastor Umo Eno Anakone Yaganyi as governor and deputy governor for 2023 election. Vote PDP.
Go to Akwa Ibom go better.
Welcome back and thanks for staying on. It's Political Spectrum on Spectrum Television. As promised, here's a display of the letter, the press release rather, issued by INEC yesterday. Confirmation of the postponement of the governorship and State House of Assembly elections. It was, of course, released by the INEC chairman of Voter and Information and Education Committee, Festus Okoye, and quickly running through it, it says, following today's ruling by the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, EPT, on the reconfiguration of the bimodal voter accreditation system, BVAS, used for the presidential election held on 25th of February 2023. The Commission met to assess its impact on the Commission's preparations for the governorship and state houses of assembly elections scheduled for Saturday, 11th of March 2023. Nigerians would recall that on the 3rd of March 2023, the presidential EPT had given an ex-parte order for some political parties to inspect materials used for the presidential election, including the forensic inspection of over 176,000 BVAS used in the election, which are located in INEC LGA offices across the country. The Commission approached the tribunal to reconsider the order, given that the BVAS systems were to be deployed for the governorship and state assembly elections, and that the lack of a clearly defined time frame for the inspection could disrupt the Commission's ability to conduct the outstanding elections. For instance, the BVAS can only be activated on the specific date and time of an election. Having been used for the presidential and National Assembly elections on 25th of February 2023, it is necessary to reconfigure the BVAS for activation on the date of the governorship and state assembly elections, while the ruling of the tribunal makes it possible for the Commission to commence the preparation for the BVAS for the governorship and state assembly elections. It has come far too late for the reconfiguration to be concluded. Consequently, the Commission has taken the difficult but necessary decision to reschedule the governorship and state assembly elections, which will now take place on Saturday, 18th March 2023. By this decision, campaigns will continue until midnight of Thursday, 16th of March 2023. That is 24 hours before the new date for the election. The decision has not been taken lightly, but it is necessary to ensure that there is adequate time to back up the data stored on the over 176,000 BVAS machines from the presidential and National Assembly elections held on 25th of February 2023, and then to reconfigure them for the governorship and state assembly elections. This has been the practice for all elections, including the period when the Commission was using the smart card readers. However, we wish to reiterate that the Commission is not against litigants inspecting election materials. Consequently, it will continue to grant all litigants access to the materials they require to pursue their cases in court. We wish to reassure all political parties and candidates that the data from the presidential and National Assembly elections will be backed up and available in INEC cloud facilities, including the INEC Results Viewing Portal, IREV. political parties can apply for the certified true copies of the back-end data of the BVAS. Also, the results on the BVAS will continue to be available on the IREV for interested parties to access. We thank Nigerians and friends of Nigeria for their understanding as we continue to deal with these difficult issues and navigate these challenging times. Barrister Festus Okoye, National Commissioner and Chairman, Information and Voter Education Committee, Wednesday, 8th of March 2023. Well, there you have it. A statement from INEC confirming the postponement of the elections, all tied around the court order that granted them permission to reconfigure the BVAS following inspection by the Labour Party and the PDP. Well, in spite of all the intricacies that one may have noted with respect to how INEC has conducted the entire elections, we cannot shy away from the fact that they do have a point when it comes to how the BVAS can be deployed. Only the big concern here is, has it been tampered with or already compromised even before the inspection begins or in the course of the reconfiguration? Those are concerns. I'd like to get your quick reactions on just before we wrap up. Feel free to call me right now on the numbers displayed on the screen. We only attend to perhaps a couple of calls before we wrap it up on the program this morning. Remember to keep your calls, your comments, and your contributions as moderate as possible when you do join in. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning to you. All right, while expecting those reactions of yours to come in, don't forget you can also go to all of our social media platforms where the conversation does continue right after this. Leave us a message. We'd love to read from you. Hello, good morning. All right, we're perhaps still having issues with service providers as being the course of the day's transmission. But we'd like to equally thank you for staying true to the program this morning. We continue to revisit these issues as much as we can, because as we have another week to prepare for elections. And by the way, campaign continues even right after this as we lead up to the March 18 elections. That's the news making the rounds this morning. We'll be back again tomorrow. Join us again if you can for another edition of Political Spectrum. But coming up next is Business 360. Enjoy the rest of the day's broadcast. Me, Raymond Ita, and the rest of the crew, thanks for watching and bye for now.